Top 15 things that happen on the first day in a South African prison. 15. Arrival and registration. When you first arrive at a South African prison, you're processed and registered. This includes providing personal information and undergoing a search to ensure you aren't carrying any contraband. Prison guards check your belongings and record them for safekeeping or disposal. You're stripped of your civilian clothing and issued standard prison attire. The process is dehumanizing and sets the tone for life behind bars. You might feel disoriented as the system starts to strip away your individuality. Many first-timers report feeling overwhelmed by the stark, cold environment. Guards are strict, and any resistance could lead to disciplinary action. It's a harsh reality check for newcomers. By the end of the process, you're officially a part of the prison population. 14. Meeting the cellmates. The moment you step into your assigned cell, you're faced with the individuals you'll live with. These are often hardened criminals or those awaiting trial for various offenses. Your cellmates will size you up immediately, assessing your demeanor and background. First impressions are critical, as they may dictate how you're treated. Some inmates might try to intimidate you, while others may offer advice. Trust is rare, and newcomers are often cautious about who they interact with. The living conditions can be cramped, with multiple inmates sharing a small space. Tensions are high, and misunderstandings can quickly escalate into confrontations. The first night is often sleepless for many newcomers. You realize the importance of staying alert and aware of your surroundings. 13. Understanding prison hierarchy. South African prisons operate on a strict hierarchical system. The gangs, such as the Numbers Gang, 20 SAXS, 27s, and 28s, dominate this structure. Your status is often determined by your background, crimes, and behavior. Newcomers are usually at the bottom of the hierarchy, making them vulnerable to exploitation. Inmates quickly learn who holds power within the prison walls. Gang leaders and seasoned inmates enforce their own rules and punishments. Aligning yourself with a group can offer protection, but comes with obligations. Refusing to respect the hierarchy can result in severe consequences. The hierarchy controls access to resources like food, cigarettes, and privileges. It's a system that demands quick adaptation to survive. 12. Facing intimidation and initiation. New inmates often face forms of intimidation or initiation by seasoned prisoners. This can range from verbal threats to physical confrontations. The goal is to establish dominance and test the newcomer's resilience. Gangs may pressure you to join them, sometimes offering protection in exchange for loyalty. Refusing to comply can lead to isolation or targeting. In some cases, inmates endure humiliating tasks as part of an informal initiation. The atmosphere is tense, with every interaction carrying potential risks. You must tread carefully, avoiding actions that could provoke hostility. The experience is both mentally and physically taxing. It's a critical period where your actions shape your reputation. 11. Experiencing overcrowding. Overcrowding is a significant issue in South African prisons. Cells designed for a few inmates often house double or triple their capacity. This means sharing limited space, sleeping arrangements, and resources. Hygiene becomes a challenge, with insufficient toilets and washing facilities. Diseases like tuberculosis and HIV spread quickly in these conditions. Overcrowding fosters frustration and hostility among inmates. The lack of personal space exacerbates tensions, leading to frequent altercations. Newcomers struggle to adjust to the lack of privacy and basic comfort. Guards may turn a blind eye to minor conflicts due to the overwhelming numbers. You quickly realize that survival depends on adaptability and composure. 10. Learning unwritten rules. In prison, there are many unwritten rules that govern daily life. These rules dictate how you interact with others, from respecting personal belongings to following gang codes. Violating these norms can lead to punishments from fellow inmates, not guards. For instance, staring at someone too long or sitting in a claimed spot could spark conflict. These rules are passed down through experience, often by older inmates. Adapting to this hidden social order is essential for safety. Listening more than speaking is a valuable strategy for new arrivals. Missteps can mark you as disrespectful or weak, making you a target. Following the rules earns you a measure of respect and security. Over time, these rules become second nature as you navigate prison life. 9. Orientation to daily routines. Prison life is structured around a strict daily routine. This includes specific times for meals, exercise, work assignments, and lockup. The routine is monotonous, but provides a semblance of order in a chaotic environment. Newcomers are briefed on the schedule and expectations. Missing a roll call or being late can result in punishment. The lack of personal freedom is one of the most challenging adjustments. Many inmates rely on the routine to stay mentally grounded. For some, the predictability becomes a source of comfort over time. The first few days are crucial for understanding and adhering to these routines. Adapting quickly reduces the risk of unnecessary confrontations with guards or inmates. 8. Witnessing gang influence. Gangs wield significant influence in South African prisons. They control much of the prison economy, including contraband trade and protection services. As a newcomer, you'll witness gang members asserting their power. Gangs often recruit new inmates, especially those with no prior affiliations. Refusing recruitment can make you a target, but joining comes with its own risks. Gang activities are often violent and involve illegal dealings. New inmates must navigate this dynamic carefully to avoid entanglements. Alliances can offer safety, but also demand loyalty and participation in criminal acts. Understanding the gang landscape is vital for survival. Many first-timers are shocked by how deeply gangs infiltrate every aspect of prison life. 7. Experiencing food and resource scarcity. The food in South African prisons is basic and often insufficient. Meals typically consist of maize-based porridge, bread, and watery soup. Nutritional deficiencies are common due to the lack of variety and portion sizes. Many inmates rely on bartering to obtain additional food or personal items. Gangs often control access to extra resources, creating another layer of dependency. Sharing or trading food can build alliances, but also attract unwanted attention. Hunger is a constant reality for most prisoners, especially newcomers. The lack of proper nutrition impacts physical and mental health over time. New inmates learn creative ways to stretch their resources or supplement their meals. Surviving on the meager provisions becomes part of the daily struggle. 6. Developing survival tactics. Surviving in a South African prison requires quick thinking and adaptability. Many newcomers observe their surroundings and mimic experienced inmates. Staying out of trouble often involves blending in and avoiding confrontations. Some prisoners adopt a tough exterior to deter potential threats. Others rely on forming alliances for mutual protection. Learning who to trust and who to avoid becomes a survival skill. Inmates also develop ways to hide valuables and protect personal belongings. Every decision, from where you sit to whom you speak with, carries consequences. These tactics evolve as you gain more experience and understanding of prison dynamics. Your first day is a crash course in adapting to this harsh environment. 5. Encountering corruption among guards. Corruption is a prevalent issue in many South African prisons. Guards are often involved in smuggling contraband like drugs, cell phones, or weapons. For a price, they might offer protection, transfer favors, or even turn a blind eye to certain activities. New inmates quickly learn that some guards exploit their power for personal gain. This dynamic creates tension between guards and prisoners who can't afford to pay. Corrupt guards also maintain ties with gangs, further complicating prison politics. Witnessing this on your first day can be both shocking and disheartening. It becomes clear that survival often depends on navigating not just inmates, but the system itself. Complaints about corruption rarely lead to action, leaving inmates feeling helpless. New arrivals soon realize they're at the mercy of a deeply flawed system. 4. Dealing with fear and anxiety. The psychological impact of entering a South African prison is immense. Fear of the unknown, physical harm, and loss of freedom weighs heavily on newcomers. Many feel constant anxiety, unsure of who to trust or what to expect. The environment is noisy and chaotic, adding to the mental strain. Inmates often hide their fear to avoid being perceived as weak or vulnerable. The first day is a mental battle, requiring focus to stay composed. Many struggle with feelings of regret, hopelessness, and anger. Some turn to prayer or self-reflection as a coping mechanism. Over time, inmates develop resilience, but the initial adjustment is incredibly challenging. The emotional toll of day one sets the tone for the days ahead. 3. Losing your sense of identity. From the moment you arrive, prison strips away your individuality. Your name is replaced with a number, and your clothes are swapped for a uniform. Rules dictate everything, from when you eat to when you sleep, erasing personal freedoms. This loss of autonomy is one of the hardest adjustments for newcomers. You're treated as just another inmate, not a unique individual. This dehumanization fosters feelings of insignificance and helplessness. The first day drives home the reality that your life is no longer your own. Many inmates describe feeling like they're no longer a person, but a cog in a system. Reclaiming a sense of identity becomes a long-term struggle. The psychological impact of this loss lingers far beyond the first day. 2. Adjusting to harsh living conditions. The physical environment in South African prisons is bleak and unforgiving. Cells are small, overcrowded, and poorly ventilated, often filled with the stench of unclean facilities. Mattresses, if provided, are thin and dirty, and bedding is rarely changed. The prison is noisy, with shouting and banging echoing through the corridors. Water shortages and limited access to hygiene facilities make cleanliness a challenge. Lights are dim, adding to the oppressive atmosphere. The first day exposes newcomers to these harsh realities, often leading to shock and despair. Many struggle to adjust to the discomfort and lack of basic amenities. Complaints are ignored or met with indifference, reinforcing the feeling of powerlessness. These living conditions set the stage for the mental and physical endurance required to survive. 1. Realizing survival is the only priority. By the end of the first day, one thing becomes crystal clear. Survival is the top priority. Every interaction, decision, and action must be calculated to ensure safety. The harsh conditions, gang pressures, and power struggles dominate every aspect of life. Newcomers often experience a deep sense of vulnerability, realizing they are entirely on their own. Adapting quickly to the prison environment is critical, as mistakes can have severe consequences. Trust is scarce, and alliances are essential yet risky. Fear becomes a constant companion, but so does a growing sense of determination. Over time, many inmates learn to compartmentalize emotions to endure the challenges. The first day is a harsh introduction to a brutal world that demands resilience. Survival, both physical and mental, becomes the ultimate goal,